Here's Opie, Sherrod, and Vic Henley paying tribute to Carl Ruiz.
Joke with him that, Carl, you're going to die over a hashtag. And he would be like, yeah, I am. he would go with it.
Literally a living hashtag.
Well, the one time he didn't Ruiz, which was the last night of his life, killed him.
Needed that shot.
He didn't do it. The only time he didn't do it. He was hanging out with friends. It was a low key night. Went to bed 11:30.
It was like he went to the aquarium.
Yeah.
Then he went back to Gloria's house, right, and was like, he had crab cakes and a pit beef sandwich, and then went back into the guest room, and it was probably like Laura Ashley wallpaper. She probably had like 50 throw pillows on the bed. He was probably like throwing them all off, right? He gets into the most boring bed on earth. That's what fucking killed him. It was the mundanity of the whole thing, right?
And if he knew, he probably would be laying there going, really? This is how I'm going to go out? Really? In this fucking room?
It's her daughter's. It's her older daughter who has now moved out, but it's her daughter's former room. No, you were close. No, I mean in terms of the decoration and the wallpaper. Is what I was.
Motel 6 was inspired by the Laura Ashley Prince of the. But yeah, just and for him to be like literally the most boring night of his life.
Like, that's just insane.
She said he didn't even have a drink.
I know.
Like,
yeah.
Yes, for the first. Well, I was going to say for the first time, but she did say that for the first time he didn't finish his shot the night before.
She said she'd never seen that ever. Yeah, that he doesn't chug the beer and kill it like Animal House, but he would always do the shot and then nurse the beer for the next half hour or so. Right. And she said that's the only time she's ever seen him not finish. He kind of sipped it and put half of it back down.
Unbelievable. When was the last time you saw him, Vic? I know, but I mean for the podcast. Yeah. You guys went out.
Yeah, we went downtown. It was the weirdest thing in the world because we would go to the bar. For everybody here knows, you randomly get I'm coming over. So here comes the freight train, whether you want it or not. Yeah. We're about to go grizzly bear wrestling. So it was. So we were. It was really early. I'm like, "Aren't you working?" And he's like, "I'm mad." So we go to 2 blocks down from where I live, and this kid's always trying to get us to go downtown to see jazz. He plays jazz in some club in the East Village, but he's always asking us like 3 a.m. And me and Carl are always like, "Fuck you, we're not going anywhere at 3 a.m. with you." So this night was like 10:30, last Thursday, and so we went with him, and it was the weirdest hodgepodge of. Literally, it's an 8-piece band. They got piano, trombone, horns. 4 of them are 75 to 85 years old, and the other 4 are 25 to 35 years old.
It was like Vic and Carl.
And we're back.
And we're back.
But no, we sat there. The guy was so happy because he'd been begging us to go for a year. I wish I could think of the name of it. I got so fucked up.
Is it the village?
It's in the East Village somewhere. I mean, it's not like, it isn't Blue Note or one of the famous ones. It's some little... Carl used to love to go to B flat, but it wasn't that. Okay. And I didn't mean to rhyme that. And so...
it was cute.
We sat there. Somebody was trying to pick him up, and there was one chair by itself. So I went over there and sat down and just sat there and watched this crazy-ass geriatric millennial jazz band play together. And it was good. They're playing Count Basie and Duke Ellington, and they're fucking killing it. And me and him were giggling. We'd walk outside, smoke a cigarette, he'd talk. I'd sit there and bullshit with him. And then he got on the cab back to Queens, and he said, "I'm going to Gloria's tomorrow. I'll call you. I'm coming back Saturday. I'm working." I'm like, "Well, I'm watching Auburn A&M if you're around in the afternoon." And so that was it. He got in the cab to Queens, and I got in the cab uptown. And that was it. Probably fucking, I don't know. Wasn't late. 2:30 in the morning, maybe. Wasn't that bad because we started early for a change.
Yeah, just terrible.
It's fucking awful, man.
We got a lot of fans here. Holy fuck. It was like one tweet, man.
Judd. Come here, Judd. This is my neighbor.
Oh, I know Judd. We busted your balls bad. That was a time I didn't record.
Yes.
And that would have been amazing.
Probably when I was ignoring you. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
But Judd had the misfortune of calling me right after I talked to you, and then I'm in the middle of putting together the list, because I told Gloria I would help her call people and make the saddest speech you ever got to get. But he's from Texas A&M, and I'm Auburn, and the game was starting, and he lives next door. So
See, I'm like, "Hey, man, you watching the game next door? What are you doing? Like, we'll go watch the teams play." And he called me. I was like, "All right." I'm like, "Hey, man, what's up?" He's like, "Hey, Carl died." I was like, "Fuck!" Like, Jesus, we just wanted to watch the game. And so, this is how I find out about the whole thing. So I'm like, I'll come by during halftime. Like, I don't, like, what is, I don't know. Man, it was
All
just.
I kept saying was
just,
like a fucking parrot. Carl died.
Carl died.
Carl died.
He's dead.
No ball game. Bye.
Like, what? Yeah.
When I called you, Vic, I went hack.
So fucking mad.
I went hack with you. I go, are you sitting down? And I went, and after I hung up with you, I'm like, you're an idiot.
Well, you probably have it recorded, don't you?
Wow.
English wit.
I'm wondering if Gloria has any footage that I could post. Yeah, I'm kidding. I went with the thing.
When you called me,
Maybe she has a webcam
Yeah,
in that room.
I figured it was hey, I got something to tell you, and I figured, well, this is all right, we're rolling somewhere. This is the call at on a Saturday afternoon that I'm not going to see daylight again until Monday.
All your family and loved ones.
And you gave me the news, and I'd never heard your voice that shaken before, and I'm pushing the phone to my ear because I'm thinking. He calls behind him, and they're fucking with me. And I said,
sure like doing that.
I said that. I said, you fucking with me. And you're like, no. But I literally have expected that, he was going to pull the phone out of your hand and be like, fuck you. We're downstairs. You're coming out now.
We were having an amazing day, and my phone was charging, and it rang, and I looked, and I saw Gloria, and I went, fuck. I knew before I picked that damn thing up. And then I broke down right in front of my kids, and this tells you a lot about Carl. Like my kids loved him. Ran into him a bunch over the years, and anyway, we would watch grocery games, because the kids would get into like, oh my God, that's your friend Carl and all that. They don't really know much about this horse shit. But then when they saw me breaking down because I got the news, and they go, oh no, Carl, and they start crying, and then they grab me and hug me. That probably was the worst out of all of this.
Well, they recognized, the collective feeling the pain and making you feel better. And like you said, they were big fans.
But the point I want to make, sorry, I got off track, but we would watch grocery games, and I'm like, hey, you want to talk to Carl? And I would call him and put the kids on the phone, and just like everyone in this fucking room, whether you knew him personally or listened on the podcast, he gave his undivided attention to my kids, and to the point where he was like, okay, they're good, and then he would maybe move on, but he would wait until he made another moment,
But it was that connection that, like, when he spoke to anyone, it didn't matter if it was a fan in the street, you felt like the most important person on earth, right? It was a complete everything, and of course his personality was so dazzling that it was just to have that person like garnish that kind of attention on you was like flattering. And there wasn't, like I said, we'd be hanging out, he'd go out for a drink, go out for a cigarette, and be like 20 minutes I go out there and he's like arguing with people on Twitter. There literally was nobody, like he would punch down as far as he could get. Like there wasn't somebody with like 0 followers, he would be like just hammering them, right? I was like, you gotta pick your battles, mate. Like you don't attack somebody with less followers than you.
And I can't tell you how many of those people that were blocked by Carl were like, could you put in the good word for me? Because they weren't even mad. They were like, I want to be back in with this whole Ruizing
Because
thing.
that's the thing, the Ruizing, it was not like any other social media. Like, we all have our social media feeds, and, we're all jackass. Ours is curated. His was just a feed of his life.
Right.
Like, it was like, if he was feeling depressed, he'd hold a fucking puppy. Yeah. And, you know what I'm saying? Like, he was very vulnerable on that thing. And I think that ultimately it sort of, look, it was, in a sense, it was reinforcing, right? The behavior was validated by the reaction that he got, and that wasn't ultimately the best thing for his health. Right. At the same time, the joy that he gave people and the idea about living life to its fullest, like that's the amount of people that he touched with that is like, it's pretty amazing, right?
And then, there's a bunch of fans here, and I've been reading everything online. I don't know when he had time to do the podcast, to do guys' grocery games, or Cook at La Cubana, because everyone has a story like, oh, he donated to my GoFundMe page without telling anybody. He complimented me on my cooking. I needed a friend to talk to, and he just gave me his fucking number, and I called him. He goes, hey, cuz, where are you? I'll meet you. He was doing this left and right without pretty much telling any of us.
Yeah. He was a nonstop machine, man. He brought a lot of joy in our lives. Who's gonna get us that Gucci bag that he had?
Lori's like, what?
Anybody know about that Louis Vuitton?
I was going to say it was Louis. It wasn't Gucci, it was Louis. It was Louis.
It was definitely a Louis Vuitton.
Louis Vuitton bag, niggas. They ain't gonna bury that with him, are they? Never miss him, man. Love
He
Carl.
would give you different watches to wear from time. I mean, really super crazy because he was into the watch thing, and he's got a crazy good collection.
It's not just the collection; it's the amount of knowledge that guy.
Oh,
has.
hell
He could just
yeah.
talk like
Absolutely.
hours and hours about the different like the mechanisms, how far back they date, the complications. It was unbelievable.
Like you said though about the kids though, I put it on my Instagram.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Everyone should go to Vic Henley on Instagram. That, you asshole, that brought new tears to my eyes, though.
Well, it was a great day. Nikki was in town. Yeah, my girl was in town. She's got 4 kids.
Right.
And so he was working on the menu at the restaurant. And this
That's right.
This
Yeah,
fucker
yeah.
was there. And so I put all the pictures. We were down there just eating, and they're making food, and Nick's going, make this kind of burger, and we're trying different things, and they're eating, and then he'd get mad, and for somewhere in the middle when he got mad about something, he's got that giant oven. It's like 500 degrees. And there was a bunch of day-old bread there, like rolls, people trying to get the bread contract at the restaurant. Okay. So he was aggravated with something, so he threw all his shit down. He looks at all the kids and he goes, let's throw rolls in the oven. And he drew a line on the fucking floor, and we all had to stand behind it, and you had to try to ring it. I forgot who hit the first one. It might have been Lola.
And that made him as happy as anything else he did.
And then he gave Lola his apron. Yeah. So then he gave her the apron.
He especially loved kids, and I think that's one of the things about the marriage was like he loved the family idea and all of that, and Ruizing was kind of born out of
Survival.
well, but also somebody to make up for the pain of the loss of that, and also that restaurant which was a labor of love, and what a fucking great restaurant that was too, like. So, and it's just a shame because like
You're talking about Marie's, right, in
Maurice,
Chatham.
Yeah, in Chatham.
He lost that. He lost his kids.
Currently out of business. Closed. Shut down. Not open. Health department violation. They found 2 rats fucking in the ragu.
Angry hillbilly Yelp user reports restaurant closed.
Eat like that. I'd be okay with that. People have a goddamn problem.
What about the wardrobe? Where did that go? Like that is like he must have had probably 500 T-shirts.
God, way more.
And he stole
the creepy cabin. He had nothing in there but just
t-shirts.
piles and piles of T-shirts
hats.
and just easily 200 to 300 hats, no problem.
He stole my T-shirt. It's somewhere.
Why does he need another shirt?
He
Like,
came
that
by.
means he should be giving out her shirts.
Before we met at the bar, he popped by my apartment for a second, and he was smoking a cigarette, and we were talking, and then he saw my friends custom made me a T-shirt in the Auburn color, so it's navy blue, and then just in orange it says, "This is my tailgating T-shirt."
Oh, okay.
And so my friends made it for me. Kathleen Madigan had it made for me on the road because they were at a get this done place, and they thought of me, and they knew Auburn A&M was coming up. So as soon as he sees it laying there, bang! I want this. He fucking took off. He took off the shirt he had on and put on my fucking shirt. And I'm not gonna get it back.
He's getting buried in it.
It's gone. I hope so. Well, I'll take that.
Oh, he better not be buried in a fucking suit.
Well, they're gonna do that to him. You know they're
You
gonna
can't do that
That's
to
why I'm not
him.
going. That's why I'm not going.
Yeah, right. We're boycotting the wedding. The wedding. Whoops. What? same fucking thing. It's the same thing.
Crocs are on. As long as they get buried in the Crocs, and at least that's part of that. There you go.
It slides.
You're talking about how you would meet people and just become instant friends with them. So I reached out to some of the folks that couldn't make it out that live on the West Coast, and Tracy sent us a message. She said, Tracy Perea, she's to Carl, everyone was someone. He could come across somebody in an airport, buy him a shot, and they became instant friends for life. The amount of people that have reached out and shared stories, like there was a guy and his wife that Carl ran into in Jacksonville, Florida, and he had so inspired them from one conversation that his wife is now the sous chef at a local restaurant. Wow.
There's a million of those type of stories. What made this just a little bit easier was the fact that when something like this happens, it's gut-wrenching. Obviously, we've all dealt with death. If you live long enough, unfortunately, you deal with this way too much. but you almost feel like you're alone when it first hits, and then you realize through, obviously all of us, but more importantly, the fans of the podcast and the Food Network and all that, you realize, wow, this guy was so fucking special and touched so many goddamn people. And these people that never met him are feeling the exact, pretty much very close to what we're all feeling.
Yeah.
I mean, he made
What
the
do you mean
New York
he-
Times- well, that like.
All right, so that's just a piece of Opie and Sherrod and Vic and Nick Solaris paying tribute to Carl Ruiz. If you want to listen to the whole thing, it's up on Opie's podcast. He just dropped part 1, so there is a part 2 coming. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and rest in peace, Carl Ruiz.